There's this moment in The Simpsons where Lisa announces, all excited, that it's time for ABC's TGIF lineup. And Bart, in classic Bart fashion, tells her that when she gets older, she'll learn that Friday is just another day between NBC's Must See Thursday and CBS's Saturday Night Craporama. That joke tells you everything about the network pecking order in the 90s. And today, we're talking about what happened when CBS got tired of being the punchline. They decided to steal ABC's Friday Night crown by copying everything that made TGIF work. They spent $40 million doing it. They destroyed two beloved sitcoms in the process, and somehow they managed to kill TGIF itself while still failing completely. If you grew up ordering pizza on Friday nights and parking yourself in front of the TV for Full House or Family Matters or Step by Step or Boy Meets World, this story is going to hit different. And before we get into it, if you're enjoying this trip down memory lane, hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps the channel, and I promise this story only gets wilder from here. Let's go back to where it all started. The birth of appointment television.
Except I can take some small comfort from having just figured out what is going on here. You know.
Before we can understand what CBS got wrong, we need to understand what ABC got so incredibly right. TGIF officially launched on September 22nd, 1989, but the seeds were planted a few years earlier. ABC had been quietly building up a Friday night sitcom base with shows like Perfect Strangers and Full House. The stars of Perfect Strangers, Mark Lynn Baker and Bronson Pinchot, had already started doing these little hosted segments between shows. They were connecting the programs together and making the whole night feel like one big event. A guy named Jim Janicek saw the opportunity. He was an on-air promotional writer at ABC Entertainment, and he'd actually tested a branded block concept earlier in 1989 with something called Terrific Tuesday. When he pitched the idea of doing the same thing for Friday nights, ABC Entertainment President Bob Iger and EVP Ted Harbert were completely on board. But naming the thing turned into a whole production. The team considered around 10,000 different names. Friday Night Funnies, Fresh New Funnies, Friday Fun Club, Friday Laugh Factory, Friday Night Laugh-tacular. They even tested the Friday Fun Club during the summer of 1989 before finally landing on TGIF. Now here's something that might surprise you. TGIF officially stood for Thank Goodness It's Funny, not Thank God It's Friday. Iger pushed for that specifically because they wanted to avoid trademark issues with the TGI Fridays restaurant chain. They also wanted to avoid saying the word God on air. The original mascot was even this animated mouse named Friday the Mouse. But honestly, the name was almost secondary to the concept. The real genius was counter-programming. Ted Harbert explained the logic. As soon as teenagers can get out of the house, they leave on Friday nights. You're left with parents and their kids. So ABC looked at this supposedly dead time slot and asked a simple question. What if we stop trying to compete for the audience that's not even home? What if we give the families who are home something they can all watch together? It was revolutionary. And it worked. The secret sauce.
You mean you climbed over the bars and jumped down all by yourself?
You got it, dude.
So what actually made TGIF work? It wasn't just putting sitcoms on Friday night. It was creating a viewing ritual. Janicek described it later as being all about sitting down and taking a load off for the week and laughing together. He modeled it on the experience of families gathering to watch Disney Sunday movies. TGIF wasn't 4 separate shows. It was a 2-hour branded entertainment event. The shows themselves were produced almost entirely by one company, Miller-Boyett Productions. Thomas L. Miller and Robert L. Boyett had figured out a formula that was basically bulletproof. Every show had to have what they called a moment of real human connection. They wanted to fulfill the fantasy of a dad sitting on the sofa saying, "What's the problem, son? Let's talk." That sentimental moment became so associated with their style that people actually started calling it Miller time. And here's the thing. Miller-Boyett didn't just dominate TGIF. They owned it. During the 1990 to 91 season, all 4 Friday night comedy slots were Miller-Boyett productions. Perfect Strangers, Full House, Family Matters, Going Places. One production company controlling an entire primetime night on a major broadcast network. That level of dominance is insane. The inaugural TGIF lineup in 1989 featured Full House, the premiere of Family Matters, which was actually a Perfect Strangers spin-off, Perfect Strangers itself, and Just the 10 of Us. By the early 90s, they'd added Step by Step and Dinosaurs. By 1993, Boy Meets World joined the party. The ratings were massive. In the 1990 to 91 season, Full House ranked number 14 nationally, with a 15.9 rating. Family Matters was right behind it at number 15 with a 15.8 rating. The following year, Full House climbed all the way to number 8 nationally. At its peak, TGIF was pulling over 20 million viewers on a weekly basis. The shows crossed over with each other constantly. Steve Urkel showed up on Full House and Step by Step. They did themed event nights, a Beatles tribute in 1995, a time travel crossover episode in 1997. Characters would appear in the interstitial segments between shows, and they'd stay in character the whole time. It made everything feel like a shared universe, years before the MCU made that concept mainstream. For 8 straight years, ABC dominated Friday nights. TGIF wasn't just a programming block, it was a cultural institution. And that's when CBS decided they wanted a piece of it. The first swing and miss.
And I'm telling you right now to cut it out.
Or what?
Or this.
Here's something most people don't know. The CBS Block Party in 1997 wasn't actually CBS's first attempt to challenge TGIF. They'd tried once before, back in 1992, and it went so badly that most people have completely forgotten it even happened. In the fall of 1992, CBS assembled a 4-sitcom Friday block. They didn't even bother giving it a name. That's how confident they were, I guess. The lineup was The Golden Palace, which was a Golden Girls sequel featuring Betty White, Rue McClanahan, and Estelle Getty. Then Major Dad with Gerald McRaney. Designing Women, and Bob, a sitcom starring Bob Newhart. On paper, this wasn't a terrible idea. These were established shows with established audiences. CBS had even won a bidding war with NBC for The Golden Palace, offering a full 24-episode order. But there was a massive problem. They'd taken Major Dad and Designing Women away from their successful Monday night time slots. The previous season, Designing Women had finished 6th nationally. Major Dad had finished 11th. These were genuine hits in their existing homes, and the target demographic was completely wrong. Golden Girls sequels and Designing Women skewed much older than the TGIF audience. Families with young kids weren't going to tune in for the same programming as their grandparents. The result was a disaster. Not one of the 4 shows cracked the Nielsen Top 65. The Golden Palace finished at number 66. Major Dad dropped to 69. Designing Women fell to 67. Bob came in at 72. By spring of 1993, CBS canceled the entire Friday comedy block the night before they announced their fall schedule. Every single show was gone. But did CBS learn from this? Did they realize you can't just throw sitcoms on Friday night and expect TGIF magic? No, they did not. The TGIF Golden Age. While CBS was licking their wounds, TGIF was reaching its absolute peak. The mid-90s lineup was arguably the best the block ever had. Family Matters had Steve Urkel becoming one of the most iconic TV characters of the decade. Step by Step gave us the blended Brady Bunch dynamic. Boy Meets World followed Corey Matthews from middle school through high school. Hangin' with Mr. Cooper was in the mix. And Dinosaurs, which has one of the most unexpectedly devastating series finales in television history, when all the dinosaurs die. Full House aired its series finale on May 23, 1995. It finished number 7 for the week with 24.3 million viewers and a 14.6 rating. 24 million people tuning in to say goodbye to the Tanners. Then, in February 1996, Disney completed its acquisition of ABC. And this is where things started to shift. Under Disney's ownership, TGIF began targeting a younger and more specifically teen-focused audience. The shows started skewing different. Michael Jacobs, who created Boy Meets World and Dinosaurs, later noted that edge had become the favorite word in development meetings. September 1996 brought Sabrina the Teenage Witch to TGIF. The premiere pulled over 17 million viewers. It was a genuine hit. But it also signaled a tonal shift. The wholesome family comedy formula that Miller-Boyett had perfected was giving way to something aimed more squarely at teenagers. And Miller-Boyett Productions was not happy. They'd built TGIF into what it was, and now they felt marginalized under Disney's new management. Jaleel White, who played Steve Urkel, said later that ABC made a big mistake with Family Matters. When TGIF started, it was designed to be a night for families. But somewhere along the line, Winnie the Pooh and the Muppets started showing up in the promotional material. It became kids' night instead of family night, and the family audience felt alienated. This tension set the stage for what came next. The $40 million gamble.
Looks like I'm rubbing off on you too.
Ooh, oh no. You mean it works both ways?
By the spring of 1997, Disney's ABC made a fateful decision. They canceled Family Matters and Step by Step. Family Matters had been on the air for 8 seasons. Step by Step had run for 6. Both shows were expensive, and their ratings had declined from their peaks. Disney decided to move on. That's when CBS Entertainment President Leslie Moonves saw his opportunity. Moonves had a secret weapon. He'd previously been president of Warner Brothers Television, which was the company that produced Family Matters. He had insider knowledge of the contract situation. And when ABC let the shows go, Moonves moved fast. CBS paid $40 million to acquire Family Matters and Step by Step from Warner Brothers. Both shows got full 22-episode season orders. Moonves was ecstatic about the deal. He pointed out that Family Matters had won its time period for about 8 years straight. He saw it as a chance to grab a younger audience that CBS had never been able to attract. But Moonves didn't just want 2 shows. He wanted his own TGIF. CBS ordered 2 new comedies to round out the block. First was Meego, starring Bronson Pinchot. Yes, the same Bronson Pinchot from Perfect Strangers. He played an alien who becomes a nanny for a widower's children. Then there was The Gregory Hines Show, a more mature sitcom about a widowed father raising his son. They branded the whole thing the CBS Friday Night Block Party. They hired Bronson Pinchot to host interstitials between shows. They distributed promotional VHS tapes sponsored by Diet Coke. They even got Ray Romano to host some of the promotional material. On September 19th, 1997, the CBS Block Party launched. It was a catastrophe. The spectacular failure.
Rise and shine. Rise and shine. All right, just rise.
Let's just look at the numbers. They tell the story better than I ever could. On premiere night, Meego ranked 87th in the Nielsen ratings. That's out of approximately 90 shows. The show CBS was counting on to anchor the block finished nearly dead last. Family Matters, the proven 8-year hit that CBS had paid millions for, also ranked 87th with a 5.4 rating. The Gregory Hines Show came in at 75th. Step by Step managed 72nd. Now for comparison. Over on ABC that same week, Sabrina the Teenage Witch ranked 52nd with an 8.6 rating. Even ABC's struggling new shows were crushing CBS's expensive acquisitions. Meego was canceled after just 6 episodes. They didn't even make it to November sweeps. The Gregory Hines Show lasted a little longer, 14 episodes. Then, CBS pulled the plug in January 1998, and Family Matters and Step by Step, the shows that Moonves had paid $40 million to acquire, they limped through the season, hitting all-time ratings lows. When Family Matters aired its final episode on July 17, 1998, there was no proper series finale. The show just ended. Step by Step's remaining episodes were burned off over the summer with similarly little fanfare. The CBS Block Party was quietly dismantled before the 1997-98 season even finished. What CBS got completely wrong.
Greetings, Dr. Ed, and assorted fruits of his loins. Dr. Ed, the most wonderful thing happened. Your mother called, and she is coming to visit.
So what happened? How did CBS spend $40 million trying to copy a proven formula and fail so spectacularly? The answer is that they missed the point entirely. And there are several layers to this. First, they bought shows instead of a brand. TGIF worked because of 8 years of brand equity. Families had a habit of watching ABC on Friday nights. That ritual, that appointment viewing, was tied to the network itself, not just to specific shows. CBS thought if they grabbed the shows, the audience would follow. But audiences don't just migrate between networks like that. The families who watched Family Matters on ABC weren't suddenly going to change the channel to CBS. Second, the shows were past their prime. Family Matters was in its 9th season. Step by Step was in its 7th. Both had been declining in ratings for years. CBS paid $40 million for aging properties that had already peaked. Third, the new shows were either terrible or completely mismatched. Meego was universally panned. The premise, an alien becomes a nanny, felt like a desperate attempt to recapture the quirky outsider magic of Perfect Strangers. But it just didn't work. And the Gregory Hines Show had the opposite problem. It was actually more critically respected, but it was described as more mature and edgy, which is exactly wrong when you're trying to program for families. They sandwiched adult-oriented comedy between children's programming and then wondered why the whole thing felt incoherent. Fourth, the CBS brand was all wrong for this audience. CBS had, and honestly still has, the oldest skewing audience of any broadcast network. Families with young kids didn't associate CBS with family entertainment. They associated it with murder mysteries and news magazines and shows their parents watched. And fifth, maybe most importantly, TGIF wasn't built. It was grown. The shows on TGIF had developed organically over years. Family Matters was literally a spin-off of Perfect Strangers. The tone was consistent because the same production company made almost everything. There were crossovers and connections, and this shared universe feel that developed naturally over time. CBS tried to purchase an instant programming block rather than building one. As the Deseret News put it at the time, and they were not subtle, they're calling it the CBS Friday Night Block Party, but it's a ripoff of ABC's long-running TGIF. The mutual destruction. Here's the twist that makes this whole story even more ironic. The CBS Block Party failed by every conceivable metric. 6-episode cancellation for Meego, 14 episodes for Gregory Hines, all-time low ratings for Family Matters and Step by Step, $40 million essentially flushed down the drain. And yet, CBS accomplished something. By splitting the Friday family audience, the Block Party wounded TGIF badly enough that ABC was dethroned on Friday nights for the first time in 8 years. TGIF's ratings decreased 17% overall during the 1997-98 season. CBS won Friday nights by spring 1998, but not with the Block Party, The shows that actually succeeded for CBS that season were the mid-season replacements. Kids Say the Darndest Things with Bill Cosby, reboots of Candid Camera, programming that felt nothing like TGIF, so CBS destroyed their block party. But in the process, they fatally wounded TGIF too. Both blocks essentially took each other out. There's a term for this in TV programming analysis. It's called a Cadmean victory, winning at such a cost that the victory is essentially worthless. CBS beat ABC on Fridays, but only by destroying the very thing they'd been trying to copy. TGIF never recovered. Boy Meets World aired its hour-long series finale on May 5, 2000. That was the last night of new TGIF programming. The final TGIF broadcast, consisting of reruns, aired on September 8, 2000. ABC tried to revive the brand twice more. Once from 2003 to 2005 with George Lopez and Hope and Faith. Again, from 2018 to 2019 with Fresh Off the Boat and Speechless. Neither attempt lasted more than 2 seasons. And CBS, they eventually figured out what actually works on Friday nights. Not family sitcoms, procedural dramas, CSI, Ghost Whisperer, Blue Bloods. That's the CBS Friday formula that actually stuck. The legacy. So, what do we make of all this? TGIF was genuinely pioneering. It was one of the first branded programming blocks on a major broadcast network. It predated NBC's must-see Thursday concept by 4 years. The idea of packaging shows together, branding the entire night, creating interstitials and crossovers. All of that influenced how networks program to this day. And the CBS Block Party? It's a cautionary tale about what happens when you try to copy something without understanding why it works. You can't buy a cultural institution. You can't transplant audience loyalty. And you definitely can't spend $40 million on shows that are past their prime. Pair them with a critically panned alien nanny comedy and expect lightning to strike. The shows themselves found an afterlife in streaming. Hulu became a major home for TGIF shows around 2017, hosting over 800 episodes. Engagement data showed 60,000 subscribers binged all 60 hours of Boy Meets World. People were watching all 9 seasons of Family Matters in a single month. Fuller House ran for 5 seasons on Netflix. Girl Meets World continued the Boy Meets World story on Disney Channel. The nostalgia is real. There was a TGIF reunion panel at 90s Con in 2025 featuring Ryder Strong, Will Friedle, Jaleel White, and others. Pod Meets World, The Boy Meets World, rewatch podcast hosted by Danielle Fishel, Ryder Strong, and Will Friedle has been revealing behind-the-scenes stories that fans never knew. Jim Janicek, the guy who created TGIF, reflected on what killed the brand. He said one of the downfalls was probably that there became more choice. Kids got the Disney Channel, while parents could watch something else. The family viewing ritual that TGIF was built on, one TV, one family, 4 shows, that doesn't really exist the same way anymore. But for those of us who lived through it, who remember the pizza and the couch and the whole family laughing together? TGIF wasn't just television. It was a weekly ritual. It was Friday nights defined. And CBS, bless their hearts, really thought they could just buy that. They couldn't. Conclusion. So there you have it. The story of how CBS tried to copy TGIF, spent $40 million, killed 2 shows that had been running for nearly a decade, launched one of the shortest-lived sitcoms in television history, and somehow managed to take down both their own programming block and the one they were trying to copy. If there's a lesson here, it's that you can't manufacture nostalgia. You can't purchase loyalty. And you definitely can't just slap a block party label on some aging sitcoms and expect families to change the channel. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into TV history. Drop a comment and let me know. Were you a TGIF family? Did anyone actually watch the CBS Block Party? I want to hear your stories. Until next time, thank goodness it's funny. I'll see you in the next one.